The country I chose to study for this semester was India. And to begin, I'm going to start with some basic facts about India. India was formerly known as the Republic of India. It has the world's largest democracy. It has a population of 1.2 billion, being the second largest of the world. And its population consists of 80% Hindus, 13% Muslims, and 2% Christians. Now we'll begin the pest analysis, starting with the political factors of India. India, again, is the world's largest democracy. The President of India is Pranab Mukherjee. The structure of the government is a democracy with two legislative bodies known as the Council of the States and the People's Assembly. The executive branch consists of the Chief of State and the head of the government. The Prime Minister is the head of the government, and the President has no legislative power but is a figurehead. There are two major national parties in India, which are the Indian National Congress, which leads the governing coalition, and the Bharatiya Janata Party. Overall, India has a relatively stable democracy, but with its size and diversity, it has many challenges that get in the way of effective governing. Sometimes due to the corruption, it almost can be seen as being ran as a dictatorship, or also known as a totalitarianism form of government. There has been a lot of corruption scandals involving Congress. However, two major steps are being taken to combat corruption in 2014, according to one of the articles I read during the semester. Last year, a party called the Common Man Party was formed in taking a stand against corruption. Also, there was a law that was passed that created an independent national agency to investigate and prosecute elected officials for corruption. In order for the amount of corruption to be reduced, the two major national political parties will need to adopt non-corrupt practices and encourage them throughout. India is still working toward a more transparent government. According to the same article that is talking about transparent government for India, it says, if India can reduce corruption, it could serve as a model for similar nations to show that prosperity is best when built on a foundation of openness, freedom, and honesty. Speaking of prosperity, I will now discuss the economic factors of India. India, of course, is a developing nation, but it is one of the world's fastest growing economies. The Indian economy is the 10th largest in terms of nominal GDP. According to the 2014 Index of Economic Freedom, its current GDP is 4.7 trillion. Of course, with any government, there is debt. It has a debt to GDP ratio of 51%. This debt is leading to other issues such as inflation and the discouragement of foreign investors. It currently has an inflation rate of 9.3%. Since there are budget deficits, it has caused foreign investors to become hesitant when entering into the Indian market. Even though the budget deficits may be causing foreign investors to turn away, India's foreign direct investment inflow is prospering. It has an FDI inflow of 25.5 billion according to the 2014 Index of Economic Freedom. This FDI inflow has helped the economy to develop and grow. They are using the FDI inflow to fund infrastructure projects such as railways. For example, in one of the articles I read, it talked about how the India Railroad Minister had announced his plans of allowing FDI to fund railway projects. This is a great investment for India, improving their infrastructure by building railways is a major step in economic development. Also, India is working on building the world's largest solar power plant that could potentially help their economy, but I'll talk about that later. Now we'll deal with the social factors of India, starting with some of the basic facts. Again, the population consists of 80% Hindus, and the official languages are Hindu and English. It has one of the world's largest labor forces at 467 million workers, and over half of India's population is below 25 years of age. When looking at the business culture of India, they tend to do things a little differently than we would do here in the US. In India, they still put a lot of focus on the family, and they are careful not to let their work interfere with the family. Also, business operations are influenced by religious practices. As can be seen, business operations are clearly handled differently in India than in the US. Being a different culture, there are many different values and norms. They do not perceive things the same way we do in the US. This can be illustrated by one of the articles that I read this semester also. The article discusses a jewelry ad that would seem normal to Americans, but it has caused an outrage in India. Basically, a woman is preparing for her wedding by putting on her designer jewelry, then it goes to the ceremony where it shows her child sitting and watching her mom get married. By seeing the daughter, this implies that this is a second marriage for both the bride and the groom, which is looked down upon in Indian culture. This ad did not support tradition, since divorced women are outcast in Indian culture. Since cultures do differ from country to country, someone would need to recognize the social differences and use caution when doing business in another country. Lastly, I will discuss the technological factors of India. One of the big things that the technological factors focus on for India, or currently is focusing on, is India is working on building the world's largest solar plant for 4.4 billion. To fuel its growing economy, it is using technology to harness the sun to reduce the high cost of energy. Since there are greater economies of scale and better technology, this should drive down solar costs and prices. However, they are facing some challenges. Even though the US pushes and is concerned with good energy habits, they want India to use their technology, so they are calling for trade sanctions against them. India is of course a developing country, and as can be seen, it is taking many measures to improve the economy, government, and its technology.